With the ending of Season 1 of Chainsaw Man, this video will be a review of the season's pros and cons along with my overall opinion of the series so far. This video will contain anime spoilers, so if you haven't watched Chainsaw Man and are considering it, check out my video review on the first episode. This will help inform your decision. The link will be in the description below. Just to recap, Denji, the main character, is an orphan who worked with the mafia killing devils because his father committed suicide, leaving his debt behind. After being betrayed and murdered by the mafia, he fuses with his personal pet Chainsaw Devil, thus the anime's name Chainsaw Man, and immediately obtains his revenge. He is picked up by Makima from public safety and starts to work with them instead in exchange for a better lifestyle. Denji is first introduced to Aki, another devil hunter, and soon after Power, an uncivilized fiend. This trio spend most of their time together, even living under the same roof, and fight devils alongside one another. The pacing of the story is very well executed. Each episode satisfied my desire which brewed from the previous week, whilst also leaving me intrigued as to what would happen next. There were no confusing or unexplained progressions in the plot, which helps the viewer stay on top of what is happening. One thing I liked is how well the dangers of Chainsaw Man were communicated. This season makes it painfully clear that people will die, even those whom the viewer is relatively familiar with. Although the character setup looks like a typical shonen, you won't find any bailouts in this series. If you get caught out in the world of Chainsaw Man, it means your life. This aspect adds a level of tension to fight scenes and confrontations, which will continue to exist with the coming seasons, and because of this, the viewer must discard any idea of safety they attributed to their favourite character. The stakes are high in the show, as we're explicitly told from the start, and Denji and Power, along with the viewer, have this painful truth thrust in their face during fight scenes. Concerning the fight scenes, to put it plainly, the choreography was fantastic. The animation certainly had its part to play, however, I'd say the dynamic shots enhanced such scenes, which meant more viewer enjoyment. You may have heard the criticism regarding the CGI being used, and I'm here to tell you that they are ridiculous. Yes, at certain points you may notice the CGI used, and it may not be the highest quality you expect. However, I can confidently say that it takes nothing away from the series, so much so that it wasn't worth me listing it as a con in this review. This will be, in my opinion, nitpicking. For the most part, Denji is a likable main character, and along with other characters such as Power, he brings a comedic aspect to the show. He is our portal into the world of Chainsaw Man, and also our cushion considering the tragedies of this world that have occurred and which most certainly will continue to occur. His simplistic nature and thought processes make it very easy for the average viewer to relate to and grow with. There are no grand plans to become the strongest devil hunter, only his naive goal of taking down the gun devil. I know some viewers like to see their main characters with unrivaled endurance like Tanjiro or Asta, but I'd argue that it was a breath of fresh air to see Denji straight up losing some of his fights. Whilst he may have a notable strength, his losses contribute to the idea of danger in Chainsaw Man, and the idea that absolutely no one is safe. As it stands, Denji is walking a tightrope. If he falls, he loses everything he has gained: his bed, his home, his peers, and the longer he walks, the more he gains and grows, but the more he has to lose, and the more difficult it becomes to stay upright. Enter Power, the queen of causing minor inconveniences, unless it's a prank she played on Aki with Denji. If I had to describe Power in 2 words, they would be hilariously chaotic. Since she was once just a barbaric blood fiend, this makes sense as she doesn't quite at first mesh into the relationships with Denji and Aki, but over time, we see her improving and behaving more human-like, like a child learning how to walk. Similar to Denji's character, Power eases the seriousness of being a devil hunter, and saves viewers from having to watch the show just from the perspective of rightfully gloomy devil hunters, thus keeping the show entertaining. It isn't quite clear if she has any alternative goal other than staying alive just yet. However, her character adds to the overall enjoyability of the show and also leaves plenty of room for growth and development. To round off our trio, we have Aki, the Overseer. Out of our trio, he has the most experience as a devil hunter and his behavior reflects this. Unlike Denji and Power, Aki has a more mature understanding of the world, and because of this, he fully grasps the dangers of being a devil hunter. His reserved nature tells us everything we need to know. Devil hunting is not for the light-hearted. Despite his initial view of Denji and Power, it becomes evident that he begins to care for them, however little this may be. We may see Aki begin to open his heart, as it were, and allow his relationships with these two to develop, but we don't know how long this will take. As seen from the end of Season 1, Aki is doomed to death, and given the basis of Chainsaw Man, it will most certainly happen. The questions that remain are, how and will he achieve his goal before then? I think this is a gut-wrenching touch to his character, for the viewers to know that eventually he will die and there is absolutely nothing he can do about it. The future certainly does not rule for Aki. Character development is something that would be difficult to execute in 12 episodes, but I think there were sufficient hints at development for certain characters in just these 12 episodes. For example, we were introduced to an uneducated Denji who only followed instructions and focused on his survival. But as time went on, he began to think slightly more critically concerning his emotions if people he knew were to die. The same could be said for Power, who was once just a barbaric fiend that ate animals. She became civilized, and her actions started to suggest that she was somewhat cared for the people around her, however little that may be. Aki attempts to maintain his view that both Denji and Power weren't exactly human and don't have rights, but it becomes evident that although he may think this, some part of him cares for them. Character development is something that must be measured over a sufficient time period, but the foundation for the development of our main characters is laid both nicely and subtly. Good sound design should accurately and realistically reflect the environment and actions depicted in the visual media. I actually had to go back and rewatch some episodes because I didn't notice just how good the sound design was. The attention to detail was stunning, so much so that I didn't realize. Such a realistic space was created, with minor occurrences like the contact of shoes with the ground having a synonymous sound attached to it. Although we cannot see all these things, we can hear them, and thus we feel as if we are truly there. If you're like myself and didn't at first notice the clean sound design, take a look at this ASMR Chainsaw Man video. It is extremely soothing and telling of the amount of work put into the series. I'll leave the link in the description below. The music used throughout the series is top class and extremely evocative of the emotions that would be felt during certain scenes. Fight scenes often use fast-paced music, contributing to the exhilaration of fights, while slower, more high-pitched music is used either when something isn't quite clear or for a more intimate scene. The absence of music at certain points must also be mentioned. Of course, it's not necessary for all scenes to feature a track. However, there are some scenes which could have had music, but it was opted against. This decision often denotes the importance surrounding the character's words, hence the absence of music for certain dialogues. Chainsaw Man was great in the mystery department. There are a range of questions that the viewers will want answered, and because of this, viewers will be enticed to wait for Season 2 in the interest of getting these questions answered. It remains a mystery why Denji is considered such a threat by other devils. This seems to be the main mystery of the show so far, but Mika's character also remains a mystery to us. Details about her are deliberately not communicated to the viewers to keep us wondering, other than the fact that she's both dangerous and manipulative. Due to this, we can't yet decide whose side she's on, or perhaps she's on her own side. As you can probably tell by now, Chainsaw Man does plenty of things extremely well. In fact, I'd argue that it does everything well. However, there was one thing that slightly put me off about the series, and that was unnecessary fan service. Now, Denji's behavior and goals were understandable to a certain extent given his background, but I do feel as though his desires and focus on them were overly excessive. It took away from some episodes for me, and if the point was to show his lack of education or how easy it was to manipulate him, there were certainly other ways to portray this. And just as an extra point, and I know that this is nitpicking, but I don't understand why Denji knew what perpetual motion was. That seemed pretty educated to me, but who knows, maybe he read it somewhere. To conclude, I'd say Season 1 of Chainsaw Man is one of the best first seasons I've come across. It was captivating, so much so that I didn't feel like I was watching 24-minute episodes. If you're still contemplating watching Chainsaw Man, this is your cue to get started on it, because it is definitely one of the best new-gen animes out there.